Are you looking for an escape from manufactured truth wrapped in selfish agenda? Don't you just want to have a real and raw conversation, all masks and rules aside? That's what you're getting here at Titan Evolution Podcast. Get rid of all the nonsense information and discuss everything under the sun without filters. Listen to real stories of real people who will put your current perspectives to the test, guide you on living the life you truly want, and see everything free from judgment and pretenses. Time to get rid of those unhealthy environments and let your authentic self shine. Here are your hosts, Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Travis. That's Carol, and we've got with us Tia Cristy today. She is a former radio personality writer, and she also does blogs with tips from Tia, but that's now morphed and changed into this wonderful thing on TikTok and all over social media. She's got 80,000 plus subscribers. She's been nominated for damn near everything. Lux Magazine, she's had a feature, been nominated for a Webby Love You Award, and she's here with us today. Welcome, Tia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. That's always a pleasure.
It's fun. I always like meeting someone in person, then you get to interview them and you get to see this whole other side of them. We got to hang out in Houston for a couple of days at the She Talks conference. I got to bring my daughter and hang out. And if y'all don't know Tia, she has just this fabulous fashion
energy
sense. Let's say, like, even jammies are like, she's a well-to-do, even in her jammies. Just a great time. She fell in love with my daughter, and I mean, who could blame you?
I know, I love her so much. And yeah, I told her we're best friends for life at this point. Carol knows that because Carol and I are best friends. You know, we had the pleasure of spending time, and you know,
last year.
It's just you know, when you sync up with somebody like that and it works, it just works.
Well, and I think it's different when you meet people face to face. Doing this virtual thing, yeah, sure, you can connect with somebody, but there's something really, it just transcends, everything you can imagine when you meet somebody face to face and you kind of get their essence and you kind of jive with them and you can actually connect with them quicker face to face than you can virtual. And that's what happened with Tia and I. We kind of just started talking and we ended up going to a party that evening and we just hung out all night. It was great.
It was fabulous. And with Carol, it's funny because I was like, I could spend 3 days with you and I don't think I would run out of things to say. And you were like, me too.
We never shut up. Literally nobody could talk to us because we were the whole time.
Oh, I can tell. I can definitely
fabulous.
Tell. I got a note.
I feel very blessed because I did get to see Travis's competitive side when we were in Houston as we played Mario Kart for several hours.
We did.
How'd that go?
I was terrible, but he was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure my daughter was beating everyone in the room. Let's be honest. We had, like, the hotel we got, it was strange, very bizarre. Like, we got this corner room, and the corner room was like almost 3 times bigger than the regular rooms. Like, so our room became like the hangout. We had like 6-7 people hanging out in our room.
Really?
Like, size wise, yeah.
Yeah, like his room it probably isn't on the original blueprints because it was like a stash room of some sort. Like this is where they were like, hiding, the cargo and the bodies. Yeah. Yeah. I know we went dark really quick, but like that's how big this room was. And basically
just quickly open a little bit, of a doorway, and I just shoved my way through that darkness, man.
That's right. Well, Travis was a good sport because basically I was like, look, we're just going to hang out in your room. He was like, okay.
Yes.
I'm good.
It was a good time. Very, very much enjoyed it. You always get that time. If anyone's listening to this and you've ever gone to a conference or a seminar or any of those things and you don't hang out with people after it's all said and done, like you're not building the relationships.
You're missing out.
To be successful.
Absolutely.
Like that is.
I think that's where the magic really happens too.
Well, it really is. It really is. Yeah. You can get maybe some lunch or a little bit before, but it's never as good as that quality time after the event is done. And Tia, I got to ask you a question. I got to know.
Sure.
What makes you a Titan?
Oh, well, I think knowing you two first makes me a Titan. But no, I've been a Titan because I think that I've just built up this resilience throughout my whole life. When I was 16, I faced death for the first time and like clinically died. And I learned that life is short and life is precious, and you gotta go after it. So I love the fact that you are the Titan podcast, because it really encompasses everything that somebody in this industry needs to do. You have to have that resilience to keep on going.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're not bypassing this died at 16 thing. Like, you're going to have to elaborate, because you kind of like drifted by it as if you were, just casually speaking about it. So you're going to have to elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, this one time.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I was a kid, I was diagnosed with scoliosis. Okay. And they weren't sure if I had it or not. I mean, I think you're about 12 years old when they check you in school for that. But then I ended up having a growth spurt. And what happened was my rib cage had turned so drastically. It was pressing on my heart and my lungs. And they told me if I did not have this experimental surgery, that I would die by 25. So it was kind of like one of those moments where you gotta hunker down and ride the wave kind of thing. And so what I did was, I had a great system. My family was just an amazing support system, and I had the surgery done. But as I said, it was an experimental surgery. So as I was on the table, they lost me, and it was
Oh, wow.
really touch and go situation. Probably, I was in the hospital close to a month. Little stronger every day. But I will tell you, I remember I was in the ICU, which was kind of scary because I would come in and out of consciousness with that. And I do have parts that I remember, and I was on life support and all that stuff. And that's kind of freaky to wake up, to that. But I remember I actually prayed that I would live. I remember doing that. And they ended up taking off the life support, and I was breathing two breaths per minute, heartbeat of 280. Talk about, just contradiction right there. And then they were able to put me like into, they call it a step down room. So you're still in the ICU, but you're not like there. And I remember I was just praying, and I was like, God, please, I want to do this. I'm ready to do this. And it was like a tsunami of pain ended up washing over me. And it was the most painful and beautiful moment of my life, because I remember that's when I was alive. Before that, I was not there yet. And, that sticks with me. That's something that has always kind of driven me, where I'm like, no, sometimes that pain, sometimes that anguish that we go through is what you need to remember to keep on going. You're
Yeah.
alive.
You need somebody to torture you a little bit to feel pain in order to feel alive. Is that what you're telling us?
Right, right. Find your inner masochism.
This has been another episode of Dark Humor with Carol.
Hey,
For
I'm
more
not the one opening that door, dude.
for more episodes, please contact Carol directly, because I want nothing to do with it. That's not true. I get into the dark stuff pretty frequently.
That's true.
So like hospitals, right? The surgery suite is fantastic. But every other part of the hospital sucks. The room sucks, the pharmacy sucks, food sucks, the people suck. They have nurses, they have far too
Honey,
much
it's not a
things to do.
hotel. It's not a
I
hotel.
know.
It's a hospital,
I know.
right? Like,
I
they're
know.
not trying to make you super comfortable and say, "Hey, live here."
Is
You know,
that
they're
why
trying to get
is that
you-
why all their furniture is so uncomfortable? So you'll leave as soon as possible? Is that why
Yeah,
they do that?
probably.
Yeah. I've
And
had
any kid that wishes that they had ice cream like 24/7 available, just do it for like 3 days, and you're like,
Don't
ugh.
want to touch it. Yeah.
But their ice cream does kind of taste like cardboard. So, I mean, it's not like they're throwing you the DQ or anything.
all right.
You don't
Dairy
get luxury
Queen
ice
bombs,
cream at the
ignore this
hospital.
flavor. We don't need cardboard flavored ice cream. but McDonald's could probably use a little hint on how to keep their ice cream machines up. So you never know. So tell us about this tips from Tia thing. Like, what is this?
Okay, so tips from Tia again, it stemmed from kind of like a 1%er kind of thing that happened to me. Yeah, you learn, like it's just I kind of went through like this little rough patch of things, but I really think that it's what drove me to become so knowledgeable in what I share with people. We do tips on all lifestyle stuff. So anything from health, beauty, home, sexual health, mental health, we talk about the uncomfortable things and we make them comfortable. So I have always been one that knew like a tip. You got a stain in something. Oh, here you go. This will fix it, or this will take it out. My friends used to call me MacGyver when I was a kid, because I always had like a quick fix for something. And when I moved into this new house, I started getting like sick, and I was like, what is going on? Well, it turns out I ended up getting mold toxicity poisoning. And mold toxicity poisoning, if you don't know, is very bad. It messes with everything, like your motor skills, your comprehension, like all that stuff. So I had really bad brain fog. And I decided that I wanted to write down these tips so I could share them with people, or at least remember them. And like the website was having like that, 99-cent sale or $1.99 to open up a website. So I was like, why not put it on the web? So that's what I did. And I didn't think anybody was going to read it. Maybe my mom, like, good job, kid. But it ended up blowing up, which was amazing. 6 months of recovery, getting all the mold out of my body and getting, my symptoms or my senses back and everything like that it was such a journey. But then when all of a sudden I came back to like reality and saw what this website was doing for people, it was pretty incredible. It was a lot bigger than me, it had to do with everybody else, and helping people is such a good feeling. So, I knew I had to take it serious from that point forward, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Have you always been into helping people?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think that, we've been put on this earth for purpose, and helping is probably the easiest purpose that we all have. We just got to find a way to do it that helps others and can also satisfy our souls. So, yeah.
Well, I think part of it too is there's that, what is it, that saying where you may be going down a path, but somebody else has been there already. Let them be your guide. Right. And so I think that is kind of our way of giving back to people. Is more than likely we've had to walk that path. It's been pretty tough, but somebody's walked it with us, taught us how to get through it. So now it's kind of our duty to do that for somebody else, so they don't necessarily have to go through the same harshness or pitfalls that we did.
Yes. Yeah. And isn't that such a wonderful thing to be able to do? Like one of the cool things that I found with my site too is that I was bringing back a lot of old school methods, I guess. Like you hear of these cliches like milk and cookies, and nobody ever thought anything of it. But the fact is, I think I told you before, Carol, like a sugar rush can be combated with the sugar from the milk. It levels people out. So, it's these old methods that, maybe your great grandma knew, but the translation never was complete in coming down the line. So, I'm bringing these things back for people to be like, oh, okay, milk and cookies, or, oh, my kid's having a hyper moment. Give them some milk. That'll calm them down.
Right. I mean, there are things that we grew up with that are like old wives' tales, right? And then there's things that you just wonder, hey, does it really work? Like when we grew up, if anybody ever started to get the sniffles, we'd be ginger, immediately fresh ginger tea, right?
Oh, not brandy in your house?
No, not brandy in my house. No, our family was really strange. Like we didn't drink very much growing up. That just wasn't in our, it wasn't until we became teenagers that kind of, we all went off the deep end, you know.
I understand that.
I'm
Same
always
in my
interested
house.
to hear that stuff because like I never rebelled as a teenager. So when I hear people that do, like I don't get it. Like I never understood why people do that. But like
Right.
go sneak out of the house, party, all that. I was like, it's late. I don't want to be out. I gotta get up in the morning. Like, what are they doing out there? I don't even know.
I can actually vouch for you on that. I remember I was like, let's go to karaoke when we were in Houston. And Travis was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay in.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I love karaoke, but man, was I tired that day. Not interested.
Yeah.
Pillow
was a
was
good
calling
day.
Know
my
yourself
name.
too.
It's like, Travis,
Know
come lay
yourself,
down.
know your limit.
I know.
Yeah.
It was so funny. By the time I got to the elevator, I'm like, I bet you Travis is asleep already. It was a long day.
Well, see, now I feel bad for you because you haven't seen karaoke. Carol, were you watching karaoke when we were at the ranch?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were taking pictures, watching everybody sing karaoke. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, Carol's got that one step above you. She's been in my presence when I do Baby Got Back, which is always my first.
Oh yeah.
Always my first karaoke song.
I got to hear the acoustic version, basically. Remember?
I did.
Yes, I did.
I did. Well, see, now, yeah, you did, because we were doing it in the room before you guys left to go out.
Mm-hmm.
No, so you've both heard my rendition of Baby Got Back. I think it's a misnomer that like Taco Tuesdays, like it's not about the size of the butt that matters. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Tacos are not just for
well,
Baby
I'm
Got Back.
grateful, first of all, for you to say that because I have no ass. So I'm grateful for anybody that says it's not about the size of your butt, you know? So I'm good.
Yeah, it's how you work it. It's not the size. It's how you work it.
That's right.
Yeah. No butt.
I have to say, I was wearing this one outfit to go out that night because I was so, just like he said, I was so exhausted. I was in my outfit, you know, from the speech that day. Everything felt so constricting. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just taking it off. So I'm wearing this romper, but it's a very like airy romper. Okay. There's no shape to it. And Travis was like, hello, are they pajamas too? And I was like, no. I was like, don't you know what these are? These are my fans. And I started doing like the MC Hammer dance. And he loved that. He was like, that was beautiful. I'm like, thank you.
That's
Thank
hilarious. You. Not only the fact that you can do the dance from MC
Hammer dance,
but that you
time.
that you were into it so much. Like I've been doing improv, and it's never. It's not usually what the person says or how they behave, but if they're all in, like that's where all the funniness comes from. You know what I mean?
You have to be all in. If you're going to do it, you have to be all in, whether it looks good or bad, right?
Yeah. Well, it always ends up looking better if you're all in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was going to say, you know, we learn, you know, you got to persevere from failures. So if I failed,
hey,
I'll do it better next time.
Flat on your face, all out fail.
That's right. That's right. And he probably judged me hard that day. And it could have went either way. It could have went either way, but I think he respected me just a little bit more after that.
Right.
True or false, Travis?
You went all in.
The jury's still out.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
If you're not watching this, you're not watching the video, Carol's face was like, huh? What do you mean the jury's still out? You don't know yet? It's Tia. Come on, get on board. Everyone's loving the Tia.
That's right.
I love you, Carol. I got hearts for you too, Travis. I do. Jury's not out. They're in.
They're in. I don't know. You talked earlier about how much you love my daughter and how much you love Carol. I'm sitting here like, where is the love?
For Travis?
I do. I love you.
Travis is there. Somebody's really like digging for those compliments right now. Oh my God.
My ego is a little fragile right now.
He looked today.
No one told me they love me today. I needed to get it from somebody, anybody,
Wait,
just panhandling for
didn't I
love.
say that?
Love you, Travis.
Love you.
Was that sincere enough? Oh my God.
Well, if you've got to ask, I mean.
I'm messing with you. Yeah.
So Tia, what's something about you that most people just don't know?
I can't wrap presents or wrap
Hang on.
either. But
You mean
no,
like the wrapping paper part or getting it into
yeah,
a
like I mean, I love doing it. It's funny. Actually, people don't want me to wrap their gifts because I'm so meticulous in so many ways, but when it comes to wrapping gifts, I'm just like, and then yeah, like you got like a bubble sticking out the side and like yeah,
just
it's not pretty.
not your thing. Just not
It's
your
not
thing.
my yeah, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
And
I get it.
That almost sounds
yeah.
like a business opportunity, like terrible gift wrapping by Tia. People send it just for the sheer horror of what they're getting their
You
friends
know
or
what,
family are going to receive in the
Tia?
mail.
I
Yeah.
think you should do a whole series on wrapping, right? And just go, I'm really trying and I'm like reading articles on it. And this is how I'm going to start. And then kind of like do a weekly thing and see how you improve.
Nice. I could try something like that. Yeah. I mean, like I've tried, like the family will get together and wrap the presents and, then the box comes to me and I see like somebody like cutting off the excess. So I cut off the excess and then it's short.
Too short.
It doesn't reach.
And
You
then,
got to have like a
yeah,
patch piece over the end. Yeah.
I
See,
do. Yeah.
you could ask your followers on TikTok, like you can do wrapping, and the question to your audience would be like, what did I do wrong? Show me where I
Yes.
suck. And that prompts people to respond. We started cooking in our house over the past year, like actually cooking, and some of the steps, I don't get. So I thought of doing like a series of like, why does my cooking suck? Like, what's the thing? You record it all. You get to the end, it looks like a hot mess. Like, what was the step that I messed up on? Because I obviously ain't getting it. They say like
Well, did
oil,
it taste
cooking
good?
oil. Is it sesame seed oil? Is it avocado oil? Is it butter? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm using the wrong oil or something. Like, it's coming out. Doesn't always lift out from the pan. It's not always cooked quite right.
Never bake with olive
Typically,
oil.
if it's
That's all I can say.
sticking-
Never bake with
Yeah,
olive
if
oil.
it's sticking to your pan, typically it's because your pan's not hot enough. So it's not actually searing it.
See, I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah.
I had no idea my pan had to be hot before I added the stuff.
The sizzle factor, man.
The sizzle
know?
factor. That's a
That's
good
right.
podcast name right there. The sizzle
Here,
factor.
he's writing it down. So your episode is going to be called the sizzle factor, sweetheart.
I love it. I will
The
take
sizzle
it.
factor. That's definitely going to be one of the options.
Oh, I figured. The minute you started like putting your head down, I'm like, shit, he's going to write this down.
I always take copious amounts of notes in these things.
I
You
know
never
you
know
do.
what's going to like jump out at you and be exciting.
True.
I love
True,
it.
true. So what's new, Tia?
Well, I'm doing voice work. I'm coaching people right now with voice work. As Travis says, I've been in radio basically my whole entire life. So I've traveled the country. I've worked in major markets. But when COVID happened, the station that I was with ended up selling. And most people know when a station sells, they let everyone go. And then you either get hired back or you scramble or whatever. I wasn't willing to move cross country during the pandemic.
Wait a
That
second,
just
but if they
sounded
let you
nasty.
go, why would you have to move cross country for that?
Well, they let you go and they end up only hiring back like a percentage of the original staff. It's their way of cutting cost or part of the deal. That's beyond what I get into the scope of, but you play the game so many times and you know how it's going to work. I mean, I've been doing this for so long. And right out the gate, as soon as it happened, I ended up getting like 3 offers in like the Midwest, the East Coast, or no, I'm sorry, the West Coast, and then somewhere north. And all of it was lovely, but and it's always good to be wanted. But again, this was in the very beginning of the pandemic where people were just dying, and it sounded way too scary. So I knew right then and there it was time to make a major pivot in my career and what I was doing. And honestly, it was one of the best decisions because I love radio. I don't say that I've retired from it. I tell people I'm on sabbatical. I think it sounds so much nicer. I can choose when I want to go back. And of course, I'm still lending my voice to a lot of things, but I really love writing. So I got back into writing. I've been doing a lot of ghost writing and, different magazines and, all that kind of stuff. But I remember somebody actually approached me and said, "Hey, can you teach me voice work?" And I said, "Well, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to do, I'm a TEDx speaker. You're a TEDx speaker. I was like, is that what you're trying to do?" And they said, no, I want to get better, making deals happen. I go in and I basically like
Freeze.
just yeah, or I know my pitch, but I basically like pitch vomit on them, and then I have nothing more to say, and I kind of stand there like a deer in headlights, and I was like, oh yeah, like I can help you out with that. So I really just went into it not knowing or expecting anything other than helping somebody, but in the process I ended up building this wonderful curriculum that is like a seven session program. And I teach
My
everything.
favorite number.
Everything.
7.
Yeah, mine too.
Yep. It is a number of perfection.
Yes, I agree 100%. And it's
Yep.
the perfect amount. And what has been so rewarding is I've been doing a lot of one-on-one, which I will develop, more into a system that can be like a webinar kind of thing. But right now I'm just really so immersed in the one-on-one factor because I really get to learn a lot about the person, and I get to find what they feel is their weak point, and I get to make it their strong suit. And it's a beautiful transition. And when people can actually hear the difference as they're talking, it's amazing. The look on their face is priceless.
Yeah, I just think too many people focus on the wrong things. And the truth is we got to relax, and that's why I kind of love like the show with Travis is from the very first day I ever met him. We would talk incessantly and we could talk for hours, and it was so easy. And I'm like, well, shit, if it's this easy, we should do a podcast and just talk to everybody, because there's so much to say, and you never know where the conversation leads. And what's interesting is, I think what makes our podcast extremely different is the fact that we're both so present with our guests. And we don't have questions we ask you specifically, except for the Titan one, which is, kind of the thing. But, beyond that, we listen and we inquire about our guests, because that's who we're highlighting. We want to know more about them. And so, not having these contrived questions to ask people. I mean, this is a very natural, organic kind of podcast, and really getting to know you as an individual, and that's the reason why I think we did this. This is why I think people don't like when they go and start doing podcasts, when they start doing speaking, when they start doing any of these things, there is this maybe it's a preconceived notion of what is expected of them. And if there was less expectation and more just being present to a message, I think it would be easy for everybody,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, first off, you two are very intimidating, beautiful people, like it. And so I
Stop.
think
Go
I'm
on.
laughing because I am like the least intimidating person there is.
Yeah. So I think that no, I think a lot of people, first off, a majority of people, when you talk to them, they hate their voice. They're like, oh, I hate the sound of my voice. That's because about 90% of people are not talking with their natural voice. So I help people find that natural voice. And then it's muscle memory. You know, you've been, you know,
Practice.
one of the things that you know, I tell people as you know, like they're trying to figure out, like, is this right for them or is it not? What happens a lot of times is the body is so smart and it tries to conserve energy where it can. And a lot of times what will happen is that people will not take the proper breath to get it where it needs to be. So they take a short breath and then they'll talk from up here because it uses less energy, or so the body thinks. And it's just become common practice of every day talking from the wrong spot. But once you get that muscle memory, it becomes instant and it changes everything. It really changes everything. It's such a
I think
commanding presence of you know, people's articulation, just their power that they have and how they can project and grab attention. And again, seeing their faces once they've realized they can do this is really outstanding.
I love it. I think it's great. Helping
Thank you.
people build confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And through the process, I mean, it's amazing because through that process, you know, we figure out how to do just the speech in general. So whether you're just talking in a large circle of people that, you know, are colleagues or whatever, and you get nervous in those situations, or you know, like I say, you know, whether you have to give like the best man speech or you have to give the TED speech, it doesn't matter. Like you are prepared now to be in any audience and be able to speak with confidence and power. You own it. It's your voice. You own it.
I love it. One of the coolest things you can learn when you're doing the speech is voice inflection at the end of a sentence to say when you're in charge, or the end of a sentence when you have a question, or you can talk at a normal tone and then lower your voice a little bit, and everyone stops talking naturally because they want to hear you. So if you just
Mhm.
yell, "Hey, everyone, shut up," no one cares. But if you say
Right.
something and then you drop your voice a little bit, everyone will be like, "Ooh, what is he trying to say?" Like he has our attention. If you could please
Right.
return back to your seats so we can get started, that'd be fantastic. And they're like, "How did you do that?" It's all from in the voice, right?
Yep.
It's all from in
Yes,
the
it
voice.
is.
And
It really is.
one of the most powerful things that you can do if you're not sure is you can pause and stare at them, and then they will often accept your uncomfortability into their body, and they'll be like, I need to keep going. Even if you don't know what to say, giving them that pause, that break, so they can feel the break in between your words.
You
Yes.
As we're
just
doing
made
right
We
it
now.
uncomfortable, Travis. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
we do. We talk about the power of the pause. The power of the pause is so underrated. And you know, people that are nervous to speak are so they just want to rush through it, especially, you know, like you said, when somebody
Oh,
freezes, they get a
girl,
they want to rush through it and have it over with.
rush. I will
Yeah.
rush through anything to have to be in the spotlight. But if you allow me to be in a group of people all day long, no problem, at ease. But if you put me up in front of people, I will rush through the fucking thing because I want it to be over.
I hear
I
you.
don't know why. And it has been
Yeah.
that way since I was a child,
We should talk.
you know?
We'll make time. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
All
want to go
good.
back to something you said a little bit earlier. You were talking about your transition out of radio, and something you
Yes.
said really sparked an idea within myself and a concept that I don't think I've talked about before. You said that you knew the game and you were really tired of playing it. I think that that happens to anybody in any industry. You're in there for whatever given length of time. You understand the game. You know, how'd you know, Travis? How'd you know when it was time to retire? When I knew how the game was played, I knew all the answers and I knew that I didn't want to play anymore. was not interested in all of the shenanigans that come along with, keeping your position as a naval officer. You got to do this. You got to go to this school. You got to, like, I was like, you know what? I'm not signing up for any of that stuff. I'm done. I'm out. I'm not on sabbatical. I am retired, right? I
Yeah.
am retired, not interested in anymore. But people need to understand that within themselves. All the different phases and seasons of life is when you say yes to something. I've got a lot of people my daughter's age are just graduating high school and going into the next thing, and they're unsure of picking something because they're like, oh, I don't want to do that my whole life, so they don't want to go to school for it or whatever. Pick something and find out. Find out. We talk about failing fast, right? Find out for sure that you hate it. Find it out real quick. Don't wait to find
Yes.
out till you're going to hate it 5, 6, 7 years from now. I remember an important conversation I had when I was going to get my commission, and I had the thought of I wanted to be a nurse, right? I wanted to be helping people in that capacity. And someone's like, well, have you talked to one? Have you talked to anyone that's a nurse? I was like, no, I hadn't. And I knew somebody that was. I talked to them about it. And the first question they asked me is, how do you feel about being around someone else's um, bodily fluids? Decide what that means for you. And for me,
Yeah,
I
right.
instantly knew my answer is I have a real aversion to strong smells. And I was like, nope, excellent point. Point made. I know I do not want to be a nurse, not in the slightest,
Right.
because those smells just kill me, right? They drive me absolutely crazy. So how do you know? How do you know that was right for you to move on? What things would you tell people listening to that are not sure if they should transition into or out of whatever their thing is?
Well, I agree with you 100% on that fail fast mentality because I got criticized a lot as a child because I wanted to try everything. I mean, I remember there was a line in a movie, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a painter, a poet, an artist. Like I did. I wanted to have access to everything and all of it, and see what I wanted to do. So I remember that was kind of like really frowned upon though. It was, oh, she's aloof. Oh, she's just a social butterfly. I got that a lot. And it was one of those things where I felt that it really helps me to becoming who I am today. I mean, I know tips on everything. You ask me something, I'm like, bam. And I give credit to that being my history of experiencing so much. So when I get to a certain point, at first I think people thought this was very rude. But I've said this since, I was probably 18. Um, I need to know my boundaries and I need to know my limits. Because as Travis heard me talk about this in Houston, the people that care the most about you are going to be the ones that probably push your boundaries the most. But you need to be very aware of your limits because if you do not hold firm on your limits, you will burn out. And I used to say to people, what are they going to do? Fire me and make me a better person? And that really, it sounded cold to people, but to me it was the honest truth. You've already pushed past my boundaries and now you're coming after my limits, and
Mhm.
that's not cool. And that's how I always looked at it. So when you get to a certain point, especially when the pandemic happened, there was no question. It was, do I leave my family and go across the country in a pandemic, in the plague? We're just going to say it bluntly at that moment, in the
We are going to
plague.
take it all the way to the extreme.
Yeah. And because that's what it felt like in that very beginning. Nobody knew what was happening. And so I could entertain people. Well, I can find other ways to entertain people because I'm very good at what I do. And you couldn't put a price tag on what I needed to do at that moment. And that's how I looked at it.
I
Yeah.
absolutely love that
Let
you
me
can.
ask you guys, how many of you, and between the two of you, us three all together, what we went and studied for originally in school is what profession we're currently in?
Yeah, kind of.
Let me
It's
ask you, are you, Travis, did you, like whatever you were studying for, is that what you are currently doing? Or did that change and evolve during the process, right?
That-
Over the years?
Yeah, for me, it changed and evolved, and I'm not currently working in any of my degree. Well, maybe in theory, right? So initially, I just started doing like general classes to get some of that stuff done, and then the Navy came out with a requirement. They didn't last very long, but they said in order to get a certain promotion, you had to have a degree in your career field. And I was in aviation. There was really only one degree that kind of qualified from one of the partner universities. And I started doing that. And then I wanted to get a full commission. And in order to get that done, I had to have a degree from a major university and go there full time. So I went to, the college admissions to see where I fell out in and what was available. And there was a stipulation I had to be commissioned by my 31st birthday. So I only really
Oh.
had a couple of semesters really to finish my degree. And there was only one degree that met that requirement. And that was multidisciplinary studies, which is a study of whatever the heck you want. And they call it a degree as long as you meet whatever the requirements are for the university and then for the Navy. So although I took like I studied like the Middle East and I did health and wellness and I did some other stuff. And the Navy had requirements like American history and calculus 1 and 2 and physics, calc-based physics 1 and 2 that had nothing to do with anything I cared about. And then I went back later to get my master's degree. Both of these were from the University of Oklahoma, and I got into human relations. And human relations is that's like a 3 focus degree plan. One is like organizational leadership, one is counseling, and the other one is social justice. So you're really looking at different aspects of how we interact with people. But do I think I'm relating to humans right now? I definitely do, but that's not a degree required for something like this.
Right.
No,
Right.
and I have to agree with that, Travis. Like, is it exactly what I went for? No, but do I use what I learned? Yes. Yes.
Well, I think
Like
we
I
use
have my boards in
whatever.
nutrition. I have my boards in nutrition too.
Yeah.
And it's I use that. I use that with the tips that I give and that kind of thing. But am I a dietitian? Am I working at a clinic somewhere? No. No. And honestly, I don't have any desire to do it. So it really is, it's incredible, what pressure is put on the youth of today on figure out what you want to
Like,
be.
pick something that you want to be for your entire life. And the truth is, chances
It
are
doesn't work
whatever
out.
you pick, honestly, unless it's like a doctor, a lawyer that, you have to take a certain path, chances are it's going to change because you're going to change and evolve. And I know there's a great deal of people that we all mutually know that, they started off with something and they are nowhere where they started because
Right.
they changed. And
Mhm.
thus they evolved into something else and they made businesses out of the things that, they had interest in now. Because at 20 something, could you possibly even know what you want to be for the rest of your life? And
No.
how about if you were pigeonholed there and that was the only thing you could do? I mean, could you imagine a life like that where you have no choices or alternatives? Because there are always choices and alternatives that you can make.
Yeah.
All I have to say though is if it's a family company and you don't want to run the family company one day, don't make a big deal out of it because you can keep the company and be able to
Right.
hire somebody else to run it for
Take
you.
the
You see
place.
this in
Exactly.
movies all the time. And I'm always like, don't be dumb. Stop fighting your parents. Keep the
Yes.
company.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your legacy. That literally is the legacy your parents are trying to leave behind for you. So
Right.
don't shun them because you hate what, that company is for whatever reason. Be a part of it. Do honestly, do your duty as, a
Right.
child.
Learn it.
Right.
Learn it.
And that way, when you learn it, whoever you hire on to run it, you understand how the business is run. That actually will do you good in running whatever business you decide to choose to do on your own later.
Right. It becomes a passive thing for you. And
Correct.
yeah, that just drives me crazy. I'm like, stop it, I'm stupid in these movies, and stupid's not a nice word, I know, but like just forget your pride in that situation. Like,
Yes,
yes, you
it is
can be
pride
anything
and
you want to
ego.
be, but don't kick a gifted horse in the mouth. Is that,
Right.
are we
Right.
allowed
Well,
to
but
use cliches around here?
yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
we're just
pride
whipping
and
them
ego.
around.
Pride and ego is the thing that gets in the way of everything. If we can put that
Yes.
aside, we can make better choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. Very good point, Carol.
Thank you.
Yeah, what is it like? Doctor, lawyer, dentist, engineer, psychiatrist, like have specifically required degrees. Every other job out there, there's no degree
not.
required. You can learn whatever the heck you want to learn, but don't go to college and be a gender studies major and expect to walk out with a $150,000 a year job. I'm not saying
Yep.
it can't happen, but I am saying it's not very likely.
Likely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
it
it
is.
kills
It's
me.
incredible. And I give props to, like all these different like digital, accredited like classes that they have now online, because a lot of people are starting to recognize them. People are really starting to look at what are they saying? You got to be strong in your soft skills, and you also should have, these little certificates and things like that. Things that people used to, I think, laugh at and be like, "Oh, you got a certificate offline." Nowadays it's like, I mean, you go on to Google or HubSpot, or, like, I'm not trying to name drop here, but it's like, they offer these incredible courses that can teach you at your own pace of what you need to know, how you can excel, go next level in what you're interested in, or you find out you don't like it at all. And there you go. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah, but knowledge is key to
Knowledge is
everything.
key.
Even, and by the way, not everything is something you're going to take in and use, right, or adapt. But just hearing every aspect and every viewpoint, there's no harm in hearing it. You may disagree with it, but at least you now know you have the knowledge of like, oh, well, that opinion's out there too.
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
necessarily jive with that particular, thought, school of thought, right? I may
Mhm.
jive with a different school of thought altogether. But it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that, you can't know about it. So at least you can have some valid argument should you actually talk to somebody that differs from your viewpoint.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan
Yeah.
of being able to defend your position of whatever it is, right? If you look at the political landscape, and we're not jumping into the political landscape, but there's
Nope.
a lot of people all over the political spectrum that when you ask them a question or they ask you a question and you're like, well, like why do you feel that way? Oh, you don't know, and they instantly go to like red alert, like there's like nukes inbound or something. Like be able to defend why it is that you feel that way and understand that not everyone's going to feel that way. I love those conversations because I'm truly interested and curious about their point of view. Like if we have a different opinion, I was like, "Ooh, what happened to you that brought you to that conclusion?" Like I want to know. I want to know because I'm curious. Like, did I miss something? Is that the piece that's going to unlock this new opinion for myself? My opinions change because I get new information all the time. When something comes out, some news story, I'm watching it on a right-leaning news source. I'm watching it on a left-leaning news source. I'm reading a blog about it from AP News and some, you know, independent blogger because I want to see what the viewpoints are. And if you're listening to this and you're like, Travis, why would I do any of that? They report about the same thing that happened, but they all report different things based on what their
Opinion.
base cares about.
Yeah.
So if you're only listening to one news source,
Right.
you never even get close to having the full picture.
Yep.
Right. It's amazing because when I started in media, um, that we weren't allowed to have opinions. And it was, if you even had any kind of opinion going into a story, like it was crossed out, scratched out and read, and go back, lose the opinion, and get me something by tomorrow. Nowadays it's what fuels their ratings, and it's very sad to me, because you're not even getting
It's a
the news
marketing
anymore.
ploy.
Yeah.
It's
So
newstainment.
I don't know. And Travis knows I'm a big person to say, if you're starting out your day with news, don't do it. Just don't do it. Like, scientifically has been proven, like it can lead to more depression. It can lead to higher anxiety. The first thing you should be doing in the morning is some kind of
Meditation,
social. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
calming your
Oh,
mind, getting
meditation
focused.
is great too. But yeah, it's if you have the chance, for people that, have families in a household, one of the main things within the first 10 minutes is you should greet everyone in a loving manner, and then go and have your alone time for meditation. And because the way you start your day really does determine how your day is going to flow.
Actually,
And
Tia, that's beautiful, because really, first thing you wake up is you're inviting those people into your life first thing by greeting them. And then you
Mhm.
can walk away and take care of yourself, and then come back to the people you love. I
Mhm.
love
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's much different than, yeah. I've got a quote that I'm debating on saying or not, but Zig Ziglar used to say that he woke up every day, read the newspaper and read the Bible, so he knew what both sides were up to. I don't know how much I agree with that or whatever, but it is funny.
That's cute.
It's
That's
That is
very
just,
cute.
cute, actually.
it's you never like they're trying to tell you how to feel about whatever the thing is, and they're only showing
Right,
you the point of view that supports the way they're talking about it. And it may
right,
or may not be how you feel, but if all you listen to is one point of view, you're never going to be open to this. So many
right.
times I've had conversations with people and I'm like, huh, I did not know that, because whatever news source they watch on a regular basis never talks about that thing. Right. When Trump got into office, they were talking about all these terrible things that Obama did, and now that Biden's in office, they're talking about, revoking all these terrible things that Trump did or whatever else the thing is. But if you're on one of those sides of the spectrum, you're only hearing the bad stuff about the other person. You're not hearing
By
the
the
bad
way,
stuff
you're only
about your own
hearing
party.
half. And there's always two sides to a story. You need to hear both, and
Oh
then
yeah,
draw your conclusion
yeah.
after the
My
fact.
opinion, your
But
opinion, and what
right,
really happened. That's like the 3 points of view, right?
correct.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But now
And
everyone understands
I always chalk up things
everything.
to the whisper down the lane too, because, once it goes through, three different sources, it's really
Dude, it's a
mucky at the
telephone,
end.
right? It's the telephone. You start with the actual message, and by the time it gets to the end, you don't even know what was said back there anymore, because it doesn't even resemble what
Right.
was originally said.
Or they're
Fuzzy Fuzzy was a
reporting
woman.
that someone else reported a thing about another thing. Yeah,
Right.
reporting that we have a correspondent that heard this from the other one. If you like really look at it, you're like, you're not even reporting anything.
Right.
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 I had
Yeah. And plus,
I had a taco party over the weekend, and I had a
this
bunch of
weekend,
friends and family in town, and we had people drive in from Minnesota and Colorado and up from Dallas to come hang out, and we're just having such a good time. And it's always interesting to see how people react to certain things, what happens when you bring different cultures together and what's going to come out of that. I always invite a ton of people. I always have like 100, 150 invitations that go out, and my wife's always like, we can't support, 100, 150 people. I was like, most of them ain't going to come. Most of them ain't going to come. But I always end up like inviting a people that either live kind of a distance away or just haven't seen in a while, just to know that even if they can't make it, that I'm thinking about them, that I care about them. And inevitably, some of these people end up showing up. I've had this time
Joel,
last year, when my daughter got married, we had people drive in from Los Angeles, fly in from Reno, drive down from Colorado Springs and up from Houston. Like, letting people know that they're important to you, whatever that might look like, is something that helps build that real community, something that's much different than what we see online, because you always get everyone's best looking selfie, or here's the best news about our business when we're doing this great thing, when behind the scenes everything's a fucking disaster. The building is on fire, the dog's running in circles. Like, but getting people together and expressing that gratitude and seeing how the different people form into little different groups over the night and how they go different places. It's always interesting to see just how much nonsense is in the news and doesn't apply to real life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I
But
think
I
we
am
have to
going to yell at
treat
my
ourselves as
mailman
good.
because I did not get my invitation to the taco party. Did you get yours, Carol?
Ooh, ouch. Ugh.
Yeah, it's
I know.
definitely the
Daggers. No, I'm kidding.
United States Postal Service, definitely their fault.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm gonna
is
yell.
that what we're going with, Travis? I call
That's
BS.
right.
I call BS.
I believe you, Travis. I believe you.
Oh my God.
No, I agree 100%. It really is it's really realizing what's important in this world and all of that stuff. It just does it really change the moment, because that information seems to change on a daily basis. Like we're actually, dealing with a water contamination problem in Philadelphia. So for the last couple of days, people have been going nuts. I waited in line for water at the, Costco yesterday, and everybody was wonderful. I mean, the line moved so smoothly. I had some other customer. He was just there. He saw me struggling, trying to get some into my cart. And, he was like, let me help you, and he helped me out. And I was like, wow, this is really cool to see, people just being
helping
so kind. Yes.
Yeah.
And not arguing. It was beautiful. But then, then the news comes out with, okay, well, if you're in this area, you will not be affected because it only happened at this water plant. And then it was, okay, if you are in that area, then your water's only good until 7 o'clock tonight. Okay, no, we're gonna move it to midnight.
You know what? Just cover all the bases, go get the water, you're all good, go.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it was instilling fear.
chaos.
And that's what they do. They instill fear. And I think that that's not cool. So today they actually said that there is no problem anymore. So yay, people can have their
Yeah.
water.
Meanwhile, half of Philly dies. Ooh, did I just say that?
Yeah. So I mean,
Travis, stop it. I know like the little gears are going, I can hear him whirring, and then I'm like, oh, he's gonna say something really like smart ass.
What is going on? You're in like Georgia visiting family and you're all having this
I do.
all this dark humor.
Oh,
Like, what's
no.
going on?
I always
I
have dark
know.
humor. I've always had dark humor.
I mean, yeah, but it really doesn't come out in the show very often. Today, you're just hitting it after hitting it after hitting it.
Oh, well, because
I
we
love
started with it. So why not just
Yeah.
go with it?
Yeah.
We're just good. Hey, if we started with it, we're ending like totally strong with it.
Yes. I was gonna say, and that's like our thing. Maybe that's what it is. We started with it and now we're in
End
it.
with it. Hey, like go all the way, right, Tia? All the
Why
way.
not?
Right.
Why not?
You gotta be
Let's
all
keep
in.
on going.
It's
All
always
in.
better when you're all in.
All in. That's right. And sizzle factor.
And sizzle
Yes.
factor. And dark humor.
Right. And what are they gonna do? Turn us off and make us better people? No, I'm kidding.
They're gonna take away your birthday. So I was
That's
gonna
right.
mention this earlier. Like, oh, what are they gonna do to take away my birthday? Well, in the U.S. Navy, they can actually take away your birthday, playing with the international date line, right?
Wow.
Depending on where you're at. And I don't know, like someone can explain the mechanics of it. You can be on one side of the line and you cross over the line exactly at that new day. And in theory, you've skipped an entire day. The Navy can actually take away your birthday.
Wow. That's
Well,
not
did you
nice.
know that in Chinese, in our culture, we have two birthdays?
The first of
We
the year.
have our American birthday, the date we were born,
Mhm.
and then we have a lunar birthday. I don't know my lunar birthday. All I
I was
know
gonna
is
say,
it
how do they
adds an
figure that
extra-
out?
Huh?
How do they figure that out? Is that like partly the day you're born, but also like
Lunar,
the year?
yeah,
and-
the lunar date is always different than your actual birthday.
Mhm.
So
I was hearing another culture talk about this, that they have like the day they're born and like the first of the new year or the new month. So you can be like 2 days old, but be 3 in that culture. Have you heard about this?
Well, it's actually technically
Yeah.
1 year difference.
Is it 1 year difference?
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember when I was turning 39 and I'm like, oh, I'm right at, 40's back door. My stepmother did not miss a beat. She goes, oh, you're already 40, girl. And I was like, oh, it hurt.
Hence the dark and twisted humor.
Yeah, it's a dark and
Yeah.
twisted humor.
Yeah.
I gotta laugh about it because it's like, otherwise you cry, I'm a year older, whatever.
Does
See,
it
I
go the
don't-
other way? Like, could you be a year younger?
No, because lunar
No.
year is always, it's always ahead.
Mhm.
Well, that just doesn't seem fair, does it, Travis?
No.
I don't care in the slightest how old I am. It's just a report of how many
Guys are
laps about the sun I've
different.
been.
Guys are different. You look
What does
more
it matter?
distinguished the older
Unless you're
you get.
dating Leonardo DiCaprio and you're getting fired when you're 25, like,
Yeah.
or Ted Cruz
I
getting
want
rid of at
Benjamin
29.
Button's problem. I
That-
want
that's-
Benjamin Button's problem. Like,
I was
I want to
gonna
go
say,
back in time.
I've been called that. I think I look younger now than I did. Like some of my high school people, they're like, what do you got, Benjamin Button? Which thank you. I love that. I appreciate it. But
Yeah,
it's
no
funny,
kidding.
Travis and I talked about it. Like, I don't know how old I am. Yeah, I know how to do math. I just don't care. Because
Yeah,
the fact
age is a number.
I grew up in a house where we didn't do numbered birthdays. We celebrated birthdays, but it wasn't like, oh, this is your 10th
number
birthday, or yeah, it wasn't like that. And so there wasn't any pressure, but I did learn from seeing my peers in school. They put so much pressure on themselves, and you see it happen today all the time, especially with women. Well, by the time I hit 25, I need to meet the man I'm going to marry. By the time I'm 28,
Oh,
I need to have
trust
my
me,
first
you'll be
kid. Blah, blah, blah,
divorced
blah,
by
blah.
your time you're 27 then, if you start at
Yeah.
25.
Oh my gosh. Like I heard some poor girl at the age, it was her 26th birthday, saying that she was middle-aged now. And I was like,
At
Oh,
26.
yeah, past her prime. I was
No,
like,
that's true. That's definitely true.
Travis.
Maybe if you're Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't know.
The only point I'm trying to make is why on earth are we prescribing and infusing so much emotion, especially negative emotion, with something we have no control over? Like,
No, it's a
I'm a
gift.
guy, I'm 5'8". That's not very tall by American standards. It's much taller than a lot of other nations. But yeah, way taller than Tia and Carol. But like, I don't care.
It's a lot.
I don't care how tall I am. That's just the height I reached when God's like, "Yep, perfection achieved. That's where we're at." Right? It doesn't mean
Oh, I
anything.
love that. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't grown since the 6th grade. I'm like, in 6th grade, you already reached perfection. That's amazing.
But you had a beard at 6th
Hey,
grade, and
hold on.
it was like,
I know ladies that have beards.
If we can all just think that who we are currently, right, and have always been is perfect, then we can stop trying to reach perfection, because we are perfect as we are. We were created as we will always be, perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
we are
Carol, as you
simultaneously
said
a
that, did you see the
masterpiece.
sunlight come in and
and grow.
shine? It was like, it's like the first glimpse of sun we've had in days.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it.
Here's the deal. Like, we're all infinite beings. We're all
Yeah.
masterpieces, and simultaneously, we're always growing
Hmm.
and changing and evolving. And there's
We're
nothing
perfect
wrong with
in
that.
our imperfection.
That's right. So no matter what age they decide to slap you with, doesn't have any meaning.
No.
Right? It doesn't have any meaning at all. I know people talk about, once you reach retirement age was a thing created by Otto von Bismarck in the 1800s, because all of his enemies were 65 and older. So he's like 65 mandatory retirement age. And then the US somehow adopted the same thing. But our country is almost exclusively ran by people older than that. So
Yeah.
like, what the heck does it even mean? I have no idea.
Right.
Well,
What's irrelevant?
We have talked about that. I think all three of us had to we did a questionnaire where it said, when do you plan on retiring? And I put never, because I don't think I'm created that way, to pivot into a different, profession even or whatever, that's fine. But I'm not made to stop. I have such purpose, and I have such, that tenacity of helping others and making my mark to leave this world a better place than when I started. I think that retirement age, no, that's not a thing for me. And I think if more people started to look at it that way, they wouldn't be so downtrodden on the fact that, like, at 80 years old, the greeter at the hardware store is
I
there.
absolutely love that
I
because
know.
they're out there socializing with
Purpose.
people. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think we're human beings. We need to be social. And
Yes.
at 80 something years old, if you're a greeter, freaking great. You actually get to converse with people on a daily basis. I think that
Yeah.
just, I don't know, there's something it does for you. It enlivens your soul.
That's
I
what Betty
agree.
White did. They're like, what's the secret to youth? She's like, I always hang out with people much younger than me.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool.
And that is the truth. Our body again is so super smart. Um, Discovering like the fountain of youth. They've been talking about this for, probably centuries, but a little fun fact that if you ever have a blood transfusion, the blood cells that you get through that transfusion, your body will try to keep up with. So if you get like younger person's blood, your cells in your body will then become younger because they're keeping up with the Joneses, kind of thing. And
Dracula.
yes, and that's the whole concept really of Dracula.
Here we go. We're just going dark again. Just 100% diving into the darkness. Yeah.
So we're like cellular beings. So when you hang out with somebody that's younger than you,
you start
your
to
cells
react
younger. So it's not just about the blood. It's just on a cellular level, you will become younger.
Is this
Honestly,
why
that's
women
really
are
cool.
always obsessed with these vampire shows and movies?
Could be.
Yeah, or is it that like, I just want you forever, you have to be mine, and the only way we can do that so I can
Well,
annoy
they
you
usually make
into
the dude pretty
eternity
hot too.
is if we become vampires.
You know what? I just like that I fit in. I'm so alabaster, Travis, you got to see that firsthand, in
It's
hot
bright.
Houston. It was like I was the only one applying like SPF because we were going to be out in the sun. Yeah, I feel like, I
right.
have something in common with the vampire.
Well, as we're getting ready to wrap up the show here in our fantastic dark conversation with Tia, what advice would you have for someone that might be struggling right now?
I say persevere. I mean, it really is so important. Changes happen constantly. As Travis said, it's about being prepared, just being prepared to evolve. Like it happens, whether you're for change or against it, it's always going to happen. So if you're in a dark place or you're just struggling with something, consistency is key. Just keep going because it really does make the difference. We have this mindset that we have to make leaps and bounds, but honestly, even in the last year, I've been making like these little shimmies, but I'm going so much higher than where I started just by doing those little shimmies on a consistent basis. So just keep on shimmying, shimmy shake, right?
I feel sorry for my gal that does the transcription. I don't know how to spell shimmy. Good luck with that one. Tia, where can we connect with you?
SHIMMY.
That's what I would have done too. Yeah.
Where can people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you, Tia?
Oh, I would love for them to go to tipsfromtia.com. to check out all the wonderful tips that we have there. Also, you can reach me at Tips from Tia, one word, on what is it? We got Instagram, we got Facebook, we got Twitter, TikTok. We started. That's tipsfromtia.com. And Travis, I was surprised you didn't bring it up. The shirt collection, just the tip as our little slogan for Tips from Tia. You know, we started doing some cheeky shirts. So that will be on Etsy at Tips from Tia shop. So thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. All of her links are at tipsfromtia.com. You can find all her social links there. So the one thing you got to remember, the one and only place to go is tipsfromtia.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of Titan Evolution Podcast. We hope this no-holds-barred conversation opened your eyes on what it takes to live a genuinely happy life according to your own terms. Now that you've treated yourself to such a refreshing discussion, you cannot listen to nonsense content anymore. Be sure not to miss an episode by subscribing to the show at TitanEvolutionPodcast.com. Don't forget to share the word so more people can be enlightened, informed, and entertained. Thank you for listening.